Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to. I guess it's my. What is this? My second stream for the year. This is your your vampire Oneesama sister Midnight here with you once again after 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 a bit of a quite a few number of days of not being able to stream. So, hello everyone. First of all, let me just check on the bites. Dex, congratulations on getting first for the 10th time. Clicking the redeem button faster than their perks of being in the same country. Canolas, thank you so much for the 37 bites. Sakura for the 15 bites. I think, yes, 15 bites. And Dex, thank you so much for the resub for 53. Oh, not resub, really. Oh, resub, yeah. For 53 months. And for the 27 bites as well. Thank you, thank you. Stupid winter pop-up. What is that stupid? What is that pop-up? Is that like a... Is that a... an ad? I don't know what that is. Latency start. Yes, those are the location location perks. Bad hammer. Just lips may randomly fall for the draw. Hello, icons I use. Hello, hello. Good good evening, good evening. Xavier 56 or 056. Thank you so much for the follow and welcome in. Lovsky, hello, hello. Good evening, good evening. Yes, I am here with my book shield. I mean, I don't think you guys want to be distracted by, what you see on screen, yes? Hello, Ushiny. Happy New Year to you as well. Good evening, good evening. Furlu. Stop spawning the Yetis. The Yetis are disappeared already. They're gone. Okay? I think we do. What do you mean? Hello, Sasiase. No feet. No feet for you, Furlu. If you keep spawning the, whatchamacallit? The Yeti snowman. Anyways, as you may have noticed, I have not been able to stream a lot since the beginning of the year. Beginning of 2026. This is still just my second stream. So I have been, well, quite busy actually. Hence the title for this evening is Tired Oneesama. Mostly because beginnings of the years are usually very hectic when it comes to businesses. Sleeping stream. I cannot sleep in front of the computer. I can't do that, Sakura. That would be... I'd end up with a crick on my neck. Although I do know that there is, like... If I had body... What do you call this? Like a body monitoring? What body tracking? But your avatar... That's true, that's true. I mean, we did do like the remember the 24-hour stream marathon that I did where I slept for like, I don't know, 4 hours, I believe. Where I only had like the avatar like just sleeping on the screen, you know. Body pillow. Do you think I should get a body pillow? Like an Oneesama body pillow? Should I get that? Body tracking. Speaking of sleep, it's sleeping time for me. Alrighty, Kanolis, thank you so much for dropping by, and please do get some sleep. Instacell. I think it will depend though. It will depend, Sakura, on what is illustrated on the body pillow. First merch incoming. I would have to connect first with a supplier, a maker of body pillows. I don't know. Does the vampire sleep in a coffin or hanging upside down? None of the above. I sleep in a 4-poster bed. Oh, shiny. No uncomfortable coffins or sleeping positions for your Oneesama. Only the most comfortable Egyptian cotton, Egyptian bed sheets for your Oneesama. Otherwise, I may end up cranky and may need more blood than usual. And I definitely don't think that you want to have more blood offered. Yes? I think you want to give your blood as much as possible. So, if you don't want a cranky Oneesama, then we make sure that I get proper sleep, or the most comfortable kind of sleep. Her feet will grip a pole in her house. She goes, you need a body pillow, Sakura. Be honest now, gentlemen, or everyone in chat, whether you're a gentleman or a lady. Have you ever purchased body pillows before? Come on. You can tell me. Does this model have feet? I believe that no, it does not show the feet. It only shows footwear. Not yet. Purchased a body. Now you're making me curious as to what type of body you purchased, Verlo. But, okay, so the past week and days have been quite hectic for me. Chicken joy. Have been quite hectic for me, so I wanted a more relaxing evening. I will still be playing video games once in a while, or sometimes I will be like alternating depending on your Oneesama's mood. So I will either be playing video games when the mood strikes, or I will be just chilling here with you guys and relaxing and reading some stories to help me and you, wind down for the day. Well, depending on your location, of course. But if it's still like, I don't know, morning for you, you can always go back to this when you're about to head off to bed, So, I hope that you guys will still be here. Like, I know that you guys like video games and, watching the video game streams, and I will still be doing that, of course. But there will be plenty of relaxed streams as well, as your Oneesama gets a little bit more your grandma Oneesama deals with the hecticness of IRL life. Hello, Ritz. Thank you so much for the bite and 13 bites. You're now enrolled in Bitcoin, the only crypto backed by blood. So, I have some, I don't know, news, I suppose you can call it. How is the audio, by the way? Before I continue with anything else, how is the audio? Are we good? Are you able to hear me still, even when I'm, how is this? Like 5 or 6 inches away from the mic. Okay, it's good. That's good to know. Okay, so another reason why I have been, been more tired or dealing with, one of the reasons why I've been away from streaming for the past days as well is Mafia King has fallen sick. So my siblings and I have been dealing with that situation. He has been in need of some blood. I know, shocking. Mafia King needing blood. And since I have just had, cancer, I am not allowed to donate blood until I am 1 year cancer free. And our local blood bank has been pretty low on blood bags. So we've had to outsource the blood, I suppose. Have any of you guys ever donated blood, by the way? Like legit donated blood to your local blood bank, or joined a, I don't know, like a donation drive for blood? The only time I've only ever been able to donate blood, like once, I believe, and after that I have been disqualified, not because I didn't want to donate, but because I was not qualified to donate. The last time I tried donating blood, I was hello, crack is my snack. Welcome in. You're just talking about donating blood, not only to your Oneesama, which by the way you can do, allow yourself to be bitten by your vampire Oneesama, but also donating blood IRL, just in case. There are actually some benefits to donating blood IRL as well. But for me, when I tried to donate blood the last time, I was disqualified because I was anemic. I was anemic. So, of course I am anemic. I'm a vampire, so I'm in constant need of blood, so I cannot give blood of my own. Thank you, by the way, Saucy Jose, for the 4 bites. It's super effective. I donate blood if the vamp was bad. What do you mean? You're gonna have to explain yourself a little bit there, crack. Do you want to be forced to donate blood? Or do you want to be whipped before you allow yourself to be bitten? Although I hope that does not come to any sort of whipping, because then you might suffer unnecessarily, and your blood quality might depreciate. So we don't want that to happen now, shall we? Kratos, God of War, welcome in, and thank you so much for the follow. So, for those who are healthy enough, I suppose, or if you think that you are healthy enough, go to your nearest blood bank and donate some blood. Yes? Hello, Tony, over there on the red platform. I am doing well, though I'm, a little bit tired from dealing with work, IRL stuff. So, hence why the streams have been, well, very few and far between, considering this is just, my second stream for 2026. Maybe I am hoping that I'll be able to stream more. But yeah. Either or, I'm a switch. So it depends on your partner, so you adjust accordingly depending on your partner, I'm assuming. So if you have a dominant partner, you switch to being the submissive one. By the way, don't ask me why I know all those kinds of things, yes? Just know that I know what they meant when they said that they were a Switch. A Nintendo Switch. Somehow the city I'm in doesn't have a blood bank. It's more a thing that comes and goes. So what if, does your local hospital not have a blood bank? Like a storage for any instances where a lot of blood might be needed, or for maybe not a blood bank. Maybe your local hospital has like their own storage, you never know. Pony, hello, good evening. Welcome in. Sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you're doing well. Thank you, Tony. I am trying my best to relax at the end of the day, just take a chill pill and try not to stress over stuff that I'm doing, that I'm doing during the day. Sus? What do you mean, oh shiny? I'm not sus. It's just that my knowledge of the internet has become more, has expanded, let's say. You have helped me to become more, what's the term? I forgot the term for it. Nintendo top and bottom. He, him, don't worry, alright? Hello, Black Lagoon. Thank you so much for the follow and welcome to the channel. It's more the resources for taking blood, so it's like the hospital only takes blood periodically. Ah, I see. That must be difficult for the hospital though, especially if they have a lot of patients to deal with and little to no blood to give to the hospital. Like in my case, the last time I was hospitalized, which was for the operation to remove the tumor in my in my stomach. That was for the colon cancer that I had. I had six bags of blood plus 2 previously, so that's like 8 bags of blood. That was that had to be infused into me. So every time when I'm not off work, yes, Pony, because I always make sure when you're at work, that's when I try to stream. Some people only lose blood periodically. Well, in case you guys didn't know, us females periodically. Funny you should use the word periodically, by the way. But females do lose blood periodically because of a certain biological process that happens where we lose blood, we shed blood every month. Worldly, I think that one is a word, but I think cultured. I am now a more cultured individual, Ushiny. Thank you, by the way, for the follow, Crack. Luckily, I'm not in any libraries right now. I am glad that you're not. Otherwise, you may have to tone down the volume of the audio of the stream. Oh no, a woman, where? You do not seriously think that I didn't use that wording knowingly and precisely. That is true. Worldly, yes. Hello, Damon Ash. Thank you, by the way, for the 2 bites. Welcome in. And for the 16 bites to Pony. So, if ever, the opportunity arises in your current location where you can donate blood, it would be very beneficial, not only to helping out those who may need it, but also very beneficial for you to donate your blood, to, how to say, replenish the kind of blood that you have in your system. It makes your, I forgot the term for the cells that produce them, the ones that are in your spinal cord. I forgot the name for it. The ones that produce more cells. You did it once, I see. I used to donate plasma. Ooh. Wait, question. When you say you donate plasma, does that mean how do you donate it? Like, do you still donate your entire blood? Because I don't think there is a way to, just remove the plasma from your blood, yes? Bone marrow? Yes, I forgot the name. Stem cells, I believe. Those are the type of cells that can grow into different types. I donate blood from the of a plasma guy. Draw blood, take plasma, return blood. It's returned to you. Oh, so they have a certain machine for it. Hello, by the way, Surya Kitana. Thank you so much for the follow and welcome in. Welcome. Feel free to have yourself be bitten by your Oneesama. I am definitely in need of a lot of blood these days, especially because I am anemic. Although my last blood test has shown me that I am less anemic than I was before. They just pump the chunky bits back. I think it's kind of like a dialysis machine though. The plasma thing. On how they remove the plasma from your blood. Hello, Joms. Happy birthday to you as well. Good evening, good evening. And thank you for the 28 bites. Discount energy drink and poor life choices. I think a lot of us actually are. I don't know what's the term. Many of us do suffer the consequences of our poor life choices. And I am not immune to that. Which is why my next decision, as something that I have decided to do, I am still questioning if it is a good life choice or not. I drank 4 monsters during the weekend. Why? What were you doing that required you to drink that much energy drink? Did you have to stay awake? Were you doing some very heavy lifting, perhaps? You like the taste. That's the only reason. Well, I do know that some people chug energy drinks like it's soft drinks, you know? But you gotta take care of your kidneys, I believe, is the... I need them to keep me awake. Well, that one is, because it has a lot of, caffeine. Are you the tired one? Indeed I am, Crimson Dragon. Doing plenty of IRL stuff in the morning leaves your Oneesama quite tired in the evening, hence why we're just chilling for now. I have a steady caffeine level and energy drink does not faze me anymore. Doesn't help that I didn't drink water during the weekend either. So essentially you've made energy drink as a substitute for your water. Also, Crimson Dragon, thank you so much for the follow. Indeed I am. So, if you're thinking of doing some hag maxing, I suggest you think again. Coke was just substitute for your water, so the energy drink was a substitute for what? Exactly. You substitute for your coffee. Your kidneys kidneys will make themselves feel felt to you one of these days, Pony. Hags are the future. Indeed we are. We are indeed the future. Considering that everyone will become one, exactly. Hence why we are the future. Will you take care of us? Of course. But first, Crimson, you have to allow yourself to be bitten first. That way, your Oneesama can take care of you. So you have to allow yourself to be bitten first. Now, going back to the decision that I said, if I am still, or the decision that I am still thinking if it's the right one or not. Hello, series. Thank you so much for the bite. 24 bites. Hello, Stab. Good evening, and a happy new year to you. Welcome to my second stream for 2026. So, speaking of decisions, I have decided to upgrade my PC because I've been thinking about this for the past, near the end of 2025. I was wondering if I should be upgrading my PC. And my PC made the decision for me, actually. Also, the sound that you're hearing is the refrigerator beside me, which is a very old refrigerator already, and it makes its own sounds. Why ASMR Stem? Because I wish to relax. And I wish you guys to relax as well. Relax with me, with your Oneesama. I know that, with the upcoming crisis in the, what do you call it? With the RAM issue. I know that there's going to be some price spikes, but my computer has made the decision for me, actually. I think a couple of days ago, my PC refused to start. Like, no matter what I did, it just got stuck. It just got stuck in the starting screen. Can we share some RAM? If only that were possible, right? Can I download the RAM? Hello, Kiss Enjoyer, and Cosmic Wari. Thank you so much for the follow and welcome in. It depends on how you're understanding this step. You're way too sussy-minded. You're gonna have to be punished, It is indeed unfortunate that we cannot share RAM. But I was able... Hello... How do you pronounce your name? Zavav? I don't know how to pronounce your name, but thank you so much for the follow and welcome in. I lost my train of thought. How much dedicated RAM does it take to run a Minecraft server? I don't know, Damon. I actually had a Minecraft server before. I don't know if it's still alive. But I outsourced that server, not a locally run server, mind you. It was one of those websites that offer server hosting for Minecraft. And I made the mistake of opening the server, I believe the password for the server, the code for the server, something like that, and our server got essentially hacked. So I'm not doing that again. What do you mean references too new for me? I am ancient, Sasyase. Of course I know what that means. You want to be punished, Stab? Alright. Then you're gonna have to face the wall and sit on the air. No questions asked. Do it. Just in case you forget, chat, that I am a teacher. Or used to be one, actually. Although I didn't teach children, but I did teach younger people. And so, if you wish to be punished, my punishment might make you a little bit tired. So, get ready to face the wall and sit in the air, and I shall be placing a couple of heavy books on your arm. Make sure that your arm is outstretched in front of you. You're not allowed to put them down. Remember in Windows today, use USB drive as a virtual memory op. I don't think I've ever actually used that before, though. You're in, Sasyase. For what? The punishment? Writing lines in the board. That's too tame. That is too tame. I prefer more physical forms of punishment. I am ancient after all. I am not exactly a proponent, but I grew up with corporal punishment. That book in your hand looks heavy. I can hold it for you. That book, Sasyase, is also meant to contain something that might distract all of you. Hence why that book is being carried by me to make sure that you're not distracted. How compelling. Now face the wall. Exactly. So you wouldn't be surprised if someone accidentally called you mom. That's up to them. Though considering that I've always served as like a mom figure for my siblings, so I guess that applies. Although really, I'm more of an older sister, more than anything else. I do not like being tied to a tree. Maybe you do, since you keep bringing it up. Maybe you should be the one being tied to the tree. The books are heavy, indeed they are. They're magical books. They contain a lot of power, and this particular book actually, is very powerful and meant to contain powers that you may have a very hard time resisting. So let's keep the book where it is, shall we? I never do it accidentally. I remember a few kids in school accidentally They say people forget embarrassing moments, but actually, no. Embarrassing moments are more often than not usually part of your core memories. They're part of core memories far more than they are part of, or than happy memories are, or happy moments, I guess. You can remember embarrassing moments a lot more than you can remember happy ones. Do you think so? Zazio said. Well, I guess you will never know if it's blank or not. Only I know if it's blank or not, yes? What if we drop the books? Then you'll have more books piled, and the longer you'll be sitting on air, Steb, I don't think you wish to suffer far longer than you want to, yes? I mean, others forgetting your embarrassing moments. That depends, I believe, on the other person. If they feel that, or if they somehow are connected to your embarrassing moment, maybe that that might contribute to why they cannot forget your embarrassing moment. 1 second, please. Let me just drink some water as well. Yes, hello, I think you're they're in the wrong channel, definitely. Oh, shiny. We are not doing any ERP here. We are doing actual punishment. Situational, yes, exactly. Okay, so I was planning to, well, the last ASMR stream that we did, I was reading some scary stories. A Final Fantasy XIV stream. Unfortunately, Oshiny, I did not have Final Fantasy XIV. I am very limited in my game library, but I think in terms of mainstream games, most of the games that I have are a little bit more off the cuff, shall we say. Okay, so if you do not like scary stories, you can always just mute the stream, because during the last stream we did some horror stories. And I decided we're gonna do some more of those, but at the end it'll be a bit more, I don't know how to describe it. Really, it'll be fairy tales, but not the watered down safe kind of fairy tales. It'll be more, shall we say, the more visual kind, I believe. Basically, they will be the Grimm brothers fairy tales, and they're not always happily ever after. How about Magic the Gathering? I believe that the only game that I have that is remotely close to Magic the Gathering will be Baldur's Gate stab. Pretty much nothing else. I have opted to limit myself in the video games that I play, and I gravitate more towards survival games and pew pew games. Though I know for a fact that pew pew games don't necessarily like me. So I like the pew pew games. They don't like me back though. Visceral. Maybe that's a term. Let's just say that they don't necessarily pull their punches, stab. The Grimm brothers, I mean, when it comes to their quote-unquote fairy tale stories. So they're not afraid to, how to say how they're not afraid to hold back, or they're not holding back. Hello, Nightmare Abyssal. Welcome in, welcome in. Okay, so we are going to start with our stories now. So, the last time the background was a bit more scary, but this time it'll be a bit more, shall we say, more comforting. So, we're gonna switch scenes, actually, is what we're gonna do. So that you can get a little bit closer to your Oneesama. Yeah? So let's do that. Okay. As you can see, I am now a little bit, just a tad bit closer to you guys. We are now in my library, and we are going to be reading some stories that are maybe entice your imagination, you know. Hello, Ein. Good evening, good evening. Thank you. Thank you for the bite, for the 15 bites. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Indeed, we are dealing with plenty of IRL stuff during the day, hence why we are just relaxing for this evening. The stories that we are going to be reading, however, are not going to be so relaxing. So let's start with our first story. This first story involves a roommate, actually. For those who have, well, I'm going to assume that most, if not all of you, are either still in school or have already graduated. And one way or another, or at one point or another in your lives, you may have experienced living with roommates, yes? In my case, back in my college days, I lived in a dormitory where I had roommates. And usually roommates can mean different ways, or it can mean different things. It can be a roommate where not necessarily sharing the same room. It can be that you're sharing the same house. In that case, they're usually called housemate. But the roommate word is often used interchangeably and is often used as like a general term, I suppose, to refer to anyone that you're living with in the same abode, I guess would be a term to use. So let's start with our first story for this evening. And this involves a sleepwalking roommate. What is it, Sauciase? Why is it spelled Oneesama instead of Oneesama? Sleepwalking stepper. I hope not. Okay, so the poster of the story says wait, let me just remove the music. Alright, let's focus. Cautionary tale. Took me long to think of the term. Cautionary tale for what? You mean the story that I'm going to be reading now? Is that what you meant, Damon? Well, we will find out if this is a cautionary tale or not. But we will see. I think my roommate is sleepwalking. Now she's mad I locked my door. By the way, thank you so much for the follow, Yaye1234. Welcome in. I live with one roommate. I'll call her Jenna for privacy purposes. We've been friends since college and moved in together about 6 months ago. Overall, things are fine. We split chores evenly, get along well, belong to the same social circles, work in similar fields, and usually spend time together without any tension. We are close enough that moving in together felt like a natural next step, not a risk. Thank you, No Scripts, for the follow. Welcome in. About 2 months ago, Jenna started sleepwalking. The first time it happened, I didn't think much of it. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. Our floors creak a lot, so I assumed she was just going to the bathroom or to the kitchen for water. I stayed in bed and waited for the noise to pass. A few nights later, it happened again. Except this time, the footsteps stopped right outside my bedroom door. I remember lying there, half asleep, waiting for them to move on. They didn't. Eventually, I opened my door and saw her standing directly in front of it. She wasn't reaching for the handle or looking around. She was just standing there, facing my door like she'd been waiting. I asked if she needed something. She didn't respond. Her eyes were open but unfocused, like she was looking through me instead of at me. After a few seconds, she turned around and walked back to her room without saying a word. The next morning, I brought it up casually. She looked genuinely confused and said she didn't remember getting up at all. Then she laughed it off and told me she's always been a sleepwalker, especially when she's stressed. I didn't have any reason not to believe her. It was strange, but it didn't feel threatening. Since then, it's been happening a few times a week. What started to bother me was the consistency. She doesn't wander the apartment. She doesn't go into the kitchen or the bathroom. She always stops outside my door. Sometimes she stays there for only a few seconds. Other times it feels like minutes. I've tried pretending to be asleep. I've tried clearing my throat or shifting in bed. Nothing changes until she decides to leave. I finally told her it was making me uncomfortable. I asked if she could see a doctor or at least close her door at night so she wouldn't wander. She got defensive and said I was being unfair, that sleepwalking isn't something she can control, and that I shouldn't be making her feel bad about a medical issue. Hello, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for the follow and welcome in. Last night was different. I woke up around 3 a.m. and immediately knew she was there. She was closer than usual, so close I could see the shadow of her feet under the doorframe. I could hear her breathing on the other side. Welcome in, welcome in. I didn't open the door this time. My heart was already racing. Instead, I asked quietly through the door, "Jenna, are you awake?" She answered immediately, "Yes." There was no hesitation, no grogginess, just a calm, clear response. I froze. I asked her why she was standing there. She said, "You weren't supposed to hear me yet." I told her to go back to her room or I'd call someone. My voice was shaking by then. She didn't respond right away. She just stood there silently for a moment that felt too long. Then she walked away. This morning she acted completely normal. Hello, Sirzat. Good evening. Welcome in, welcome in. She made coffee, talked about work, and asked if I wanted to hang out later. When I confronted her, she swore she'd been asleep all night. She accused me of trying to control her behavior and said that insisting she did things she couldn't remember was gaslighting her. I told her I was going to install a lock on my door. She got upset and said that makes her feel accused and unsafe, and that I'm treating her like a threat instead of a roommate with a medical condition. She hasn't spoken to me since. I honestly don't know what to think anymore. I'm exhausted. I'm second-guessing my own memory, and I dread going to sleep. All I know is that tonight I'm locking my door, and I'm scared of how she'll react when she notices. Now, there's actually an update to it. They updated the story about their roommate sleepwalking in the middle of the night, not to wander around the house, but to stand in front of their bedroom door. So they posted an update. The thing is, the roommate does not remember, or they say that they don't remember what happened during the night. And so the story poster decided to install a lock on the door, on his door, on their door. Which book am I reading? Hello, Jangher. Well, this is actually from the No Sleep thread. This story is meant to keep you awake a little bit longer than usual. So let's listen to the update, shall we? The update, by the way, is entitled "Locking My Door Did Not Help." So from that alone, it means that we may have a problem in our hands. But before that, let me just drink some water. I didn't expect my first post to get as much attention as it did. I posted it mostly to get it out of my head and maybe hear that I wasn't overreacting. I read every comment, even the ones that sounded a little conspiracy theory-ish. Hello, Dorian. Welcome in, welcome in. We're reading a story about a sleepwalking roommates. I believe this should be of great interest to you, Dorian, considering that you do have roommates of your own as well. I wish I'd listened more closely to the people telling me to leave. To answer the most common question, yes, I installed the lock the same day. Your roommates don't sleepwalk. Maybe they haven't started yet. You never know. You never know when they might actually start sleepwalking. I didn't tell Jenna ahead of time. I waited until she left for work, drove to the hardware store, and bought the simplest deadbolt I could find. I'm not particularly handy, but adrenaline does wonders for motivation. By the time she got home, it was done. She noticed immediately. She stopped in the hallway, stared at my door, and asked, "Why didn't you change it?" I told her I just wanted privacy and to feel safer sleeping. I tried to keep my tone light, reasonable. She stared at the lock for a long moment longer than felt normal, then laughed a little too sharply and said I was being paranoid. That night, I took commenter's advice and put a chair under the doorknob, wedged tight against the floor. So not only have they installed a lock on the door, they've also taken the liberty of putting a chair under the doorknob. I also moved a heavy storage bin full of old Halloween costumes in front of the door. I planned an escape route in my head, out the window, onto the fire escape, down to the street. Hello, Mr. Big Boss. Welcome in. You're finally on the purple platform. This felt like overkill, but I wanted to say I honestly tried everything you all suggested. A lot of you mentioned trying to record this encounters, but that still felt like too much. So I settled for charging my phone to 100% and sleeping with it in my hand just in case. Luxus420, welcome in, and thank you so much for the follow. I still woke up around 3 a.m. I didn't hear footsteps this time. I just knew. Something was different. The air felt pressed, like before a storm. I stared at the door waiting. Then I heard it. A soft sound. Almost like fingertips brushing the wood. There wasn't any knocking. No scratching. Just contact. Oh, thank you so much for the bite. This is your first time to be bitten, so I'm gonna be taking a little bit more than usual, yes? I held my breath. Then, very quietly, from the other side of the door, Jenna said my name. She didn't sound confused. She didn't sound asleep. She sounded annoyed. I didn't answer. The chair didn't move. The lock didn't rattle. After a few minutes, she walked away. The next morning, Jenna was furious. She accused me of changing things without talking to her, and said the lock made her feel unsafe in her own home. She asked me why I was acting like she was dangerous. When I reminded her of what happened the night before, she went pale and said I was doing it again, that I was putting things in her head and making her question herself. Maybe some of you are right and she is the one gaslighting me. She asked me if I was sleeping at all. That question stuck with me. I don't know anymore. Since then, things have escalated in smaller, stranger ways. Jenna has started waking up exhausted, with bruises she can't explain. Doors are sometimes open in the morning that I know I closed. This morning I woke up to find my bedroom light on, even though I always turn it off. I haven't seen her outside my door again, but sometimes when I lie awake, I swear I hear her pacing the hallway, back and forth, like she's measuring distance. I'm looking for a new place, I really am. But every time I try to imagine leaving, my chest tightens in a way I can't explain, like something is wrong with the idea itself. Tonight, I'm keeping the log and the chair in the bin. I don't think she likes that. Yasmin, thank you so much for the follow, and welcome in. And that is the end for the sad story with our sleepwalking roommate. Have you guys ever had roommates before? Or not necessarily roommates, but perhaps family members who slept walked? In my case, I have a nephew who actually slept walked, although it was of a more funny and less scary kind of sleepwalking. They got up one night and we had like a floor length mirror, you know, the kind that where you can see your entire body, and they tried to walk through the mirror. They were trying to go through. I believe they were trying to maybe they were dreaming that the mirror was a door, I don't know, but they were trying to walk through the mirror. They were trying to open it, essentially. Realizing it now, remembering it now, makes me realize that it's a little bit strange. That kind of thing, you know? Them trying to walk to a mirror. Maybe they were thinking that the mirror is something else. I don't know. But it only ever happened once and never again. I also had a grandpa who talks in his sleep. He's not here anymore. He's passed away already. But I slept in a house where essentially we did not have, this was way back in the past, but I slept in a house where it was like one gigantic room, and the only partitions between the different areas, so to speak, are like drawers or cabinets, I guess. But you can pass through one area of the room to another, and it had 3 different doors because it was supposed to be like 3 different rooms, but I don't know how or what happened, why it was designed that way, but essentially the house had 3 different rooms, sleeping areas at the very least, but they were connected and it formed like one big room. Hello, Meta. Welcome in, welcome in. Thank you so much for the 26 bytes. You're just talking about a roommate who sleepwalks in the night. Do you think the roommate was actually asleep? Or maybe they were trying to get the other person to leave? Maybe that was like their intention. Why else would they, unless of course they are really not aware of what they are doing, then that makes it all the more scary. Just imagining the idea of somebody standing right outside your door, not saying anything, but you're aware that they are there. Makes it all the more scary, I think. More than if they were, you know, like just wandering around the house. But if they're just standing there silently, not doing anything, that is step bro core. Well, in this case, that would be a step sis, yes? In any case, I hope you guys don't encounter those kinds of roommates. You know, the kind that will menacingly, it's not even menacingly, it's more of just standing there, not without any kind of intention at all. Like they're not trying to get into their room, into their bedroom. they were just standing there facing the bedroom door. And one time they heard, the one who posted the story heard like the sound of something touching the door, you know, like hands maybe putting hands against the door. I don't know how they heard that, but maybe they had like super hearing. I don't know. I don't know how you can hear like the sound of one's hands, you know, being placed against the door. Moist hands. You had a roommate like that. Are you still roommates with them, Lord Festi? Welcome in, by the way. Are you still roommates with them? Well, I'm assuming that since you use the word had, I am going to assume that you're no longer roommates with them. Yes? Because sleep is supposed to be like your safe haven. You know, you're essentially... Oh, so you sold the apartment. So you're no longer roommates with them, essentially. Well, as much as we want to accommodate other people, your safety should still be paramount. You know? So if you no longer feel safe in your very own bedroom, in the one place that should have been your sanctuary, then yeah, it doesn't matter how long you've known the person, even if you knew them as somebody who, you know, who did not used to sleepwalk. But the moment their behavior changes, and it changes in a way that puts you at risk, especially during a very vulnerable time, perhaps the most vulnerable time, when you're asleep, when you are essentially unconscious, dead to the world. And I use the word dead purposely here. Your bedroom is supposed to be your sanctuary. So anyone who poses a threat to that, whether imagined or not, I think it's a good thing if you step away. Alright, so let's close out of that story and let's go find another story. I had a lock installed in my doors. The only way in was brute force. I am a big believer in keeping your door locked. It doesn't matter if you're living with family members. I'm a big believer in keeping your privacy. So, especially when I grew up with a family situation where there was little to no privacy, I became a very big, you know, endorser of privacy. The only thing waking up is these hands if somebody comes in my room unannounced. Yes, it's always good etiquette, you know, the right thing to do to always knock before trying to get into someone's... Actually, you don't enter somebody's bedroom without their permission. You knock and you ask permission if they will allow you to go in. If not, then you stay outside. Only time I don't get privacy is when my dog decides to lay in my bed while I'm in my bathroom. Well, pets are sort of like an exception, I guess. Especially very clingy pets like dogs or cats who do not know the concept or understand the concept of privacy. They will follow you wherever, even if it means going into the bathroom with you while you're doing your business. And yet we still love them for that. I think even if cats knew about privacy, I believe you have that right, Saucy Jose. Even if they understood the concept of privacy, I don't think they will still respect it though. They will do whatever they want because for them, they are the owner and we are their slaves. Oh, he's a guard dog, so he'll sit in an area where he can watch all of us. Ah, that's a very good pet to have, you know? A dog that will actually guard everyone and not actually be cute towards any potential invaders, because there are dogs like that. Hello is one. Good evening. Welcome in, welcome in. What are you traumatized by? Traumatized by dogs or being invaded in your bedroom? Okay, so this one, this is very new actually. So if we all sleep in bed, he'll sit at the top of the stairs or around stairs area. Ah, so basically guarding the way towards the bedroom. Okay. Okay, so the next one involves YouTube, of all things, actually. So for those who are on YouTube, this one is for you. So the title of the post says, I used to watch a girl on YouTube. She found me 10 years later. Hi, this feels weird to write. I never thought I'd actually post something here. I've been reading stories in this sub for years, and honestly, I never fully believed any of them. But this is real. And ever since it happened, I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. I'm not using my real name. I already made that mistake once. You can call me Jake. I'm 27 now, and I recently moved out of my parents' house. The place isn't great, but it's all I can afford working as a bartender at a local bar. 10 years is one, yes. It is indeed a long one. Identity crisis. I've always been fascinated by the internet and the weird stuff hidden in it. When I was younger, I really wanted to be a software engineer. I took a few courses here and there, but it turned out I just wasn't good at it. Back in 2009, my grandpa gave me my first computer, RIP, and I was obsessed. Like, completely. I searched everything. You know how teenage boys are. Then around 2010, I discovered YouTube. Back then, it felt like a different world. I'd spend hours watching random videos, clicking on anything that looked interesting. There weren't really YouTubers yet, not like, today. That's when I found her channel. It was run by a girl in her early 20s. She'd record herself talking about her day. Nothing fancy, but she was funny, natural. Her name was Claire. Her channel had a weird name I couldn't remember for years until recently. I'm not reading what the channel name is, okay? Just so you guys know. 2010, I'm still school without phone. I was a quiet kid at school. Didn't have many friends. Honestly, I'm not even sure I had any. Watching her videos felt like I was having a friend, even though I never talked to her. Looking back, it was probably a crush. I never commented because I was scared she'd reply. But I watched every single video. She uploaded every day, sometimes twice a day. In 2010, or rather 2011, she started posting less. I assumed college or a boyfriend or life. Didn't think much of it. Then the videos changed. They weren't obviously fake or paranormal, just disturbing. In the first one, she was wearing a jacket that looked wet. It was mid-January, so I thought it was snow. She sat in front of the camera, eyes wide open, and didn't say a word for about 10 seconds. When she finally spoke, she didn't stop. It's been over 10 years, but I still remember her exact words. Hey guys, I don't really know how to say this, but I think someone is following me. It started online. I didn't think it was serious, but today I actually saw someone. She paused. I was walking Frodo, that's the name of her dog, and I heard the weirdest laugh. It was low, but close. I ran home and called the cops. I'm posting this to let you know I'll be gone for a while. The police said it's safer in case the stalker is watching my videos. Kiss kiss, see you soon. She smiled at the end, but it felt wrong, forced. At first, I thought it was a prank, some weird internet thing. I wasn't really scared. Then the uploads stopped. A month passed, no updates. And yeah, as messed up as it sounds, I eventually forgot about her. In 2012, she uploaded again. A stalker, yes. She looked happy, smiling, wearing a beautiful dress. The background was different, like she had moved. Her voice sounded raspy, almost damaged. I don't remember everything she said, but she mentioned having a job and seeing someone. 16-year-old me felt stupidly crushed. I hate admitting that. Sorry, but you have to go back to live, but I'll be back soon. Alright, Luxus, thank you so much for dropping by. After that, I stopped thinking about her. Until November. It was around 2 a.m. I was playing Resident Evil 4, stuck in a boss for hours, when my computer suddenly exploded with notifications. Loud. Way louder than anything I remembered setting up. I almost fainted. I rushed to mute it before my mom woke up. That's when I saw it. a new video on her channel. 2012, I started playing Counter-Strike Condition Zero. It was my first PC. Amusement.mp4. I clicked it and put my headphones on. 10 seconds. Total darkness. Nothing visible. It scared the shit out of me. Then another one appeared. Big Simimile.mp4. Shorter. A bright red light. I could barely see part of what looked like a chair. Then I heard it. A laugh. At first, I couldn't tell what it was. Then I replayed it. Definitely a laugh. Then the third video uploaded. I still get goosebumps thinking about it. This time I could see everything. It looked like a huge empty factory. In front of the camera was a chair under an upside-down lamp glowing red. Someone was sitting there. It looked like a woman. Her mouth was stretched into a huge smile, almost euphoric. She barely had teeth. Her hair was almost gone, just thin strands, no eyebrows. She was tied to the chair. I kept telling myself the channel had been hacked, and her smile kept getting wider, too wide, like it hurt. She stopped smiling. She screamed. The camera moved closer. Claire. Someone stepped behind her. I couldn't see their face. The video cut. I threw up. I cried. My mom came into my room. When I tried to show her the videos, they were gone. The channel was gone, like it never existed. Claire never uploaded again. You're probably wondering why I didn't call the police. What would I have said? She lived in another city, maybe another state. I had no proof. When I mentioned her later, nobody remembered her. It felt like I was crazy. So I convinced myself it was a fake, a project, acting. 10 years passed. I hadn't thought about her since. Until 40 minutes ago. My phone made the same notification sound my computer did back in 2009. Private number. One message. Come see me.mp4. Bringing ponies Claire. My heart dropped. I clicked the link. First video, darkness. That same laugh. Cut. Second video. The room from her old videos. Abandoned. Rotting. Maggots and cockroaches everywhere. Close up. Cut. Close up of a photo. At first, I didn't recognize it. Then the camera steadied. It was me. The last clip was just audio. Her voice. Come see me. Kiss, kiss. The same thing she used to say at the end of every video. My phone crashed right after. When I tried to save anything, it didn't work. It was infected with something so bad, I had to reset it completely. I'm staying in a friend's place for a few days. I don't know if I should call the police. What would they even do? She's been missing since 2012. This could be AI. I hate the 2020s. If anyone here remembers Claire or that channel, please say something. I need help. And that is actually the end of the story. And so far, nobody has commented on it except a bot saying that there might be more to the story. But it's actually given me the goosebumps, not gonna lie. Mostly because, how to say, it involves something that is mostly online, and as somebody who is online a lot of times, I think we all are nowadays, it kind of reminds you that once you're online, a lot of you is actually, a lot of yourself rather, is vulnerable. Even if you're hiding behind a screen. So, before we move on to the next story, I just want to say, please stay safe, everyone. Okay? No matter what you do online, please make sure to protect yourself. Alright? Now let's try to move on to the next story. Let me see. Okay, so this is, I always say, that is very good to know is one. Always keep yourselves safe and do everything you can to make sure that you are keeping yourself safe online. Of course IRL as well, but you know, nowadays everyone is spending a majority of their time online. Always wear protection. The different kinds of protection, yes? Hello, broke anon. I just tuned in, I didn't know what this is about. Well, it's actually about the poster of the story watched a video back in 2012, and then in YouTube, I guess, and hello Edgar, welcome in. Thank you so much for the follow. So they watched a channel on YouTube, and the channel disappeared for a decade. And then after that, it came back on, and it showed some weird videos. But at the very end part of the videos that were uploaded, it showed their face. The face of the one who was watching, not the face of the one they were watching, but them. And the video said to find them. So yeah, that was yeah. Alright, let's move on to the next story. This one is, it involves a home for the orphaned. Creepypasta, something like that, yes. Okay, so this particular story involves a certain home for orphans, I guess. It's Miss Hazelwood's home for the orphaned. Oh, give me a stalker. Well, you never know is one, so better make sure. Yes. Especially, especially if you're going out at night or if you're working at night. So make sure to look around you, even if it makes you look like paranoid. But still, better safe than sorry, yes? Okay, let's start our next story. Miss Hazelwood's home for the orphaned is where I grew up. Well, grew up until I was 15. Indeed, she is one. And no, when I was 15, I didn't get adopted by a loving family with a picket fence and a dog named Buddy. I'm not quite sure why I'm writing this down. Miss Hazelwood is certainly dead by now. I guess I'm just reaching out, seeing if I can find anyone else who grew up there. Hello. Thank you so much for the follow. I cannot read your name since it is in, I believe, in Chinese characters, but welcome in. I'm not going to name where this home was as I still live in the area and I'm trying to keep a low profile there, but this happened in the 80s in an English-speaking country you've probably heard of before. The orphanage had been around for at least 100 years, and by the 80s, orphanages were certainly phasing out, but a few stragglers stayed behind. Mine was one of them. Alright, is one. Enjoy your dinner. There were only ever about a dozen other kids there. Some came and went. However, my best friends there were a girl about a year older than me named Laura and a boy around my age named Frank. My name is Darren, by the way. We were all close because, well, to be honest, we all knew none of us had any chance to be adopted. We weren't cute, well-behaved, nothing a doting parent would want. We knew all we had was each other. Most of our lives took place in 3 rooms: the boys' corridors, the dining room, and the small courtyard just outside the dining room. The orphanage was actually a lot bigger than those 3 places we frequented, but a lot of it was restricted to us. The orphanage also doubled as Miss Hazelwood's own home, so we weren't allowed to enter it. But you guys aren't here to learn about some sad boy whose parents died, so I'll get into it. There's really no start to the story. Weird shit happened throughout our entire lives, so I guess I'll begin the first time I remember something strange happening. I was 8, and Frank and I were kicking a ball we had stolen from the courtyard in one of the hallways of the East Wing, the area in Miss Hazelwood's house where the orphanage was. We weren't being careful, and I ended up kicking it down a staircase that led to the cellar. None of us had ever been down the staircase. There was really no point. The door at the end was so heavy, we weren't even sure it opened. It was an old-ass house. There were a lot of rooms that simply weren't used for anything. If anything, we were all kind of scared of that door. Some kids theorized there were monsters or an evil robot down there, and I pretended not to believe them, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't expecting a massive hunk of metal to crush the door and steal our ball. Frank and I both froze in place. I was hoping he'd go get it, and I'm sure he was thinking the same. "What are you guys doing?" We heard from behind us, and I remember us both jumping in fear. It was just Laura. We sheepishly explained to her what had happened to our ball and asked her if she could go down and get it. "Okay," she said, "but I'm not going down there all by myself." Hello, Billy Goats. Welcome in, and thank you so much for the follow. Together we all crept towards a staircase. I felt like we were in Scooby-Doo. The stairs felt darker and longer than it looked like from above. Windows noises, that's true. When we got to the bottom, I grabbed the ball and motioned for Frank and Laura to come upstairs. Frank followed me, but not Laura. She had pressed her ear to the door, and her brow furrowed. She beckoned Frank and I over, and we cautiously stepped towards her and pressed our ear against the door as well. It was knocking. Something was behind that door, knocking. Like it wanted us to open it for it. We listened as it got more and more frantic and loud. Eventually, it slammed so hard that it made my ears vibrate. All three of us backed up in horror as we heard another sound. A scream. Terrified, we all sprinted back up the stairs. I dropped the ball and it bounced back down, but I didn't care at this point. I just wanted to get out of there. That night, I lay awake in my bunk. Frank was on the bottom bunk, and judging from the tossing and turning I heard, he also couldn't sleep. The boys' bed corridors happened to share a wall with a hallway where we had played that afternoon. I listened in silence as a loud and almost ear-piercing creak or scrape rang through the room. The next morning, out of curiosity, I crept down to the door and pressed my ear to it. I hadn't noticed up until then, but the ball had disappeared. Did I hear bouncing? You know, before we continue, I just want to say, curiosity killed a cat. Just remember that. That was the first ever odd occurrence. Weird stuff kept happening though. We'd hear what sounded like murmuring from the walls eating dinner, while Miss Hazelwood just told us to ignore it. Laura would swear she saw something out of the corner of her eye before it quickly darted into the restricted area. And then there was Jason. Jason was probably about 12 or 13 and came to the orphanage when me and my friends were 15 or 16. At this point, so many kids came and went, I usually didn't bother to learn their names, but I had a soft spot for Jason. The three of us kind of took him under our wings and he became like a younger brother to us. It wasn't long, though, before Miss Hazelwood had sat him down and told him he had been adopted and to start packing his bags. The next morning he had gone home. A few weeks went by, and we had begun to put it all out of our minds. There was something else that caught our mind anyways. Laura Miss Nuts. Laura was hanging out with us in the boys' bedroom when we heard something. That same fucking creaking I remembered from all those years ago. There was then another sound, like a human running, but it sounded louder, almost like it was on all fours. The three of us exchanged glances. Frank slowly stood up and opened the door as Laura and I tried to be brave. We caught a glimpse of something. It was hunting, or it was haunting. Whatever it was, it looked back at us. It stood up, and we watched it struggle to find balance, like when a baby first learns to stand. I was tempted to hide, but that's when I realized something. Those eyes. I had seen them before. Oh no. Well, welcome in, everyone. Aribu VT, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for the follow, by the way. Aribu. Spicy watermelon. Welcome in, everyone. And Vision, welcome in. My goodness. Thank you so much for the raid. Were you doing ASMR as well? Welcome in. I am Sister Midnight, a vampire VTuber. We were actually reading some scary stories. Thank you for the follow, or rather for the bite. Ocean sent it. We are reading spicy how to pronounce your name? Sibao. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for the raid, Aribu. What is that Windows noise? That one is actually from the bot. It's a streamer bot, actually. I forgot to turn that off, that part. That was supposed to be turned off because we were doing ASMR, but I forgot to turn that part off because it's a separate independent software. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, everyone. I'm assuming you were doing ASMR as well. Thank you so much, Aribu, and feel free, by the way, to do some after stream care. I know it can be quite tiring, so don't worry about, having to continue. Always feel free to, do some after stream care, okay? An alert, yes. Pickles? My eyesight is going. I am an ancient vampire, and sometimes my eyesight fails me at the most crucial time, but thank you. Pickles Cage? Thank you so much for the follow. She also forgot to turn the screen on. What screen? I don't know what screen you're talking about, Pony. Are you talking about the main screen? Not quite sure, but we were actually reading some scary stories that were, how to say, they were meant to keep you awake. So, our story for this evening. That is true, Pony. That is true indeed. So, our story is about a house for orphans, or an orphanage to make it short, with the main, how to say, I will be lurking. Alright, thank you so much, Aribu. Please do take care. Make sure to do some after stream care and rest as well, okay? Feel free to lurk. I always welcome lurkers. Feel free to listen to your Oneesama. So, the one who posted the story had a fellow orphan named Jason, and that orphan happened to have been adopted, or so they were told. But then they were exploring a part of the house that was meant to be off limits to them, and they found a creature. And they realized that that particular thing that they saw was actually Jason, the one that they thought was already adopted before. I looked at Laura and Frank. They saw it too. The thing bounded away from us. With a bit of hesitation, we followed him until we reached where we saw him go. The cellar door. Momoa. Jason Momoa. This is a different Jason meta. Feeling a bit of deja vu, we all crept down the stairs, and to our horror, the door had been opened. We looked at each other, a bit scared, but we knew we had to go in. To say we were speechless was an understatement. Thank you, by the way, Dark Shadow Runner, welcome in. Thank you so much for the follow. It smelled awful, like rot. Everything felt slimy, and it felt colder in here than anywhere else in the orphanage. Jason ran around a corner, and we were all too stunned to follow. We looked around and saw framed photos of kids. I recognized them. These were the kids in the orphanage. The kids who had been adopted. What had really happened to them? You aren't supposed to be here. We jumped at a voice behind us. Miss Hazelwood. She began to walk towards us. I had so many questions, but could only stutter. I looked back to see Jason, or what used to be Jason, looking back at me. He was crouched in a corner. What had Miss Hazelwood done to him? To all of the kids? I glanced at Miss Hazelwood again. I had never noticed her posture before, or how pale her skin was. I looked at Jason, then back at Hazelwood. If you took off the hair extensions, the makeup, the nice clothes, it was clear. She was one of those things. And now it was our turn to become one of them. Suddenly, something jumped out from behind me. Jason had leapt out from his corner and pounced at Miss Hazelwood. I was frozen in horror as I watched her thrown onto all fours. She looked much more natural that way. I caught a glimpse of her eyes, so unhuman, like looking into a doll's eye, just not what life is supposed to look like. Jason ripped a chunk of flesh off Miss Hazelwood. I watched as he grew even bigger. He looked back at us. "Run," he managed to spit out. And so we did. We ran up the cellar stairs, hearing Miss Hazelwood's animal-like screams of agony. We ran through the hallways, into the restricted wing. Laura tripped over something as she was running, and I heard her scream when we all noticed what it was. A bone. "Hello, Tin Choke?" Not quite sure how to read it, but thank you so much for the follow. As well as Tatsuya. Let me just drink some water first. A bone, yes, Meta. I wonder whose bone it belongs to. So they saw and tripped over a bone. We couldn't let that stop us. We kept running until we saw a door. It seemed to get further and further away the more we ran. Eventually, though, we burst through the door and looked around us. The orphanage wasn't built in a quaint little village like Miss Hazelwood has always told us. In fact, we didn't know what we were looking at. It was dark and smoggy outside, and dead trees surrounded us. Frank nudged us and pointed to the house we had just escaped from. It looked nothing like it did on the outside. It was disgusting. It sat abandoned, the wood rotting and the windows broken. Cobwebs filled every corner. We didn't know what to do, so we just picked a direction and walked. We walked for what seemed like forever, until we found a road. A man in a large truck had picked us up and drove us to a building. We had no fucking clue what was going on. We had been raised isolated in an orphanage. I found out later what we were in was called a police station. People stared a lot at me when I left. Laura, Frank, and I were sent to live in a group home for a few years. The lady who ran it was named Denise, and she was nicer. It's been years since this all happened. I live on my own now, in a small apartment. It's not much, but it's nice. And I've taken a liking to Taco Bell. Last I heard, Laura is going to a community college, and Frank is a cashier at a grocery store. Life is a way of moving on. But sometimes, when I'm walking at night, I swear I see a massive, monstrous-looking figure. He never follows me or runs away from me. He just watches me from a distance, and every once in a while, I lock eyes with him, and I know exactly who it is. J6 Paper Tech, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. Matt DR20, I believe. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in, welcome in. I believe we all know who exactly that monstrous looking figure is. And he actually has that monstrous figure to thank for them being able to survive and escape, I believe. Hello, Noisy the High. Is it Noisy? I think it is. Or Nolsy? I'm not sure. It's Miss Hazel. Do you think it is, Pony? Do you think it's Miss Hazel? I don't think she is. I don't think it's her. If it were, then they probably would not have survived. Or if she were still alive, then I believe they would not have survived. And that figure would have gone for them. But I don't know. Noel Ezzy. Okay. Welcome in, welcome in. Can I call you Noel? Or do I call you Ezzy? It's mine. I am telling your dad about this, Pony. That you're calling him a monstrous looking figure, if that is the case. I'm telling you. I am telling on you. He doesn't speak English. Google Translate exists, you know. So it's fine. Noel is fine. Alright. So what did you guys think of that particular story? I think the scariest part for me was the cellar, or I guess the basement. Discovering what was inside the basement. I think basements will always be a scary part in most houses. I know that some people have like basements where they use it as a place where they relax and chill and play games and stuff, but in most houses, basements are always dark and scary. You know? They're almost always places where that's used to scare children away. My house did not have a basement. Well, when I was growing up at least. Even now, we don't have a basement. And even if I were to have my own house, I honestly would not want to have a basement. As somebody who watches, you don't know which language to translate to. I think you told me already before. I have my sources, Pony. My house does, but it only has wooden furnace and some clothes and such. Well, I'm glad your house is not as scary as the house in this story. Hello, by the way, Robot Flamingo. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. I don't know. I'm a home builder and I just started a renovation in the house and found a whole room in the roof cavity of this house that the owner didn't know about. To be honest, it's crazy to me that it's only recently that I, realized that people buy fully constructed houses. When I was, when you're in SM, I was still, how to say, a very young vampire. I always thought that houses that you live in are built from the ground up. It was only when I, lately did I realize that people actually buy houses that have already been lived in previously. Yeah, but the Romans were still building roads when you were young. Probably. Fair point, Tony. But the prospect of discovering something like, a hidden cubbyhole or like a staircase going to some secret room is it is both exciting but also quite scary at the same time. Like, I think I saw, I don't know if it's a picture, a post, a video, I don't know, but it was it was a, they were trying to, how to say, they were trying to remove the carpet, the old carpet from one of the rooms in the house that they bought, and they were trying to renovate it. And they discovered like a sort of like a summoning circle on the floor. So yeah, you never know what you might find in these old homes that you either buy or you renovate. But Nolsey, I hope that whatever it is that you discover in the, the house that you are renovating, that, it will be exciting but not scary. That is my hope for you. And I hope that you keep safe, with the renovations ongoing, because sometimes, not all the time, but, well, maybe majority of the time, the sellers will not cellar like underground cellar, I mean the seller, the person who's selling, it's either realtor or the owners of the house. They will, more often than not, they might keep certain information about the house that they don't want the prospective buyers to know, and they will only find out about it when they've already purchased the said property or they've already moved in, Oh yeah, I suppose I like to mess with people and do random stuff hidden behind things, so when someone renovates it, go with that. I think I saw another post as well where the previous builder, maybe, or the previous owner or occupant of the house left like sort of like a message in a bottle kind of situation, but instead of leaving it out to sea, they left the bottle in the walls, and when it was renovated, the the builders found the message, and the message was addressed to whoever was occupying the house. Hide an entire house inside. Imagine being that good of a builder that you are able to hide an entire house within a house. Hello, Nipa. Welcome in, welcome in. Don't worry about coming in late. You're very much welcome. Pony, do not give him ideas on what to put inside the house. I cannot fathom what it would be like if somebody were to discover that, that they were hiding something that big inside the building that they're occupying, building, renovating, Okay, so the next story that we have is, do you guys like coffee? This next story involves a coffee shop, actually. So this will be our last scary story, after which we will end the stream with a little bit more of a fairy tale. But it'll be a grim fairy tale, not the happily ever after kind of fairy tale. A whole family, a whole Italian family lived in my house. Where do you even live, Pony? What kind of things have you experienced? Coffee is good, code is life. Coffee is life. My mafia sister also believes in that adage that coffee is life. Alright, let's continue with our third story. Why I don't go to my coffee shop anymore. I was desperate for work. There were few options left. My small town was drained of opportunity, and few people my age were left, except for a couple of rejects, degenerates. I put resumes out, but the bleak rain, the way the wind tended towards the horizon with a lacerating edge, halted my progress, kept me staring out windows, watching the old folk in my town walk from street corner to street corner, avoiding eye contact with each other. I could swear they had black eyes, pale skin so tight it was like plastic, a mere covering, not real flesh. I often visited one of the stores near my home when the rain and wind stopped screaming. Like horrified banshees, foxes caught in traps, ugly sirens and rocks of shores decorated by the ravages of nature with shipwrecks, to idle time when my house didn't feel home-like, only house-like. A mere place, as empty as the eyes of the black-eyed old folk. Alright, Nosy, thank you so much for dropping by, and good night. Don't mind the very loud lurking notification. The cashier, the owner, the only provider of service within the store, a coffee shop, bookstore, and antique store all in one, often eyed me in my booth as I gazed upon the fluorescent lights that gleamed on the surgical white, clean polished with wax flooring. It reminded me of a morgue's floor, cleansed of bile, blood, and organic spray. It always smelled of bleach. The owner always smelled of old sweat. Her sweat had a sickly scent of ruptured cherries, or flowers crushed and washed in ditch water, or the unwashed skin of a vagabond. Her eyes were beady, needle points that stabbed into me. I found a coldness crawling up my spine when her eyes darted to me. But I was too focused on the lights in the tile and the wind as it screamed, to pay much attention to her dead, stabbing eyes. Her voice was of crawling static from dead, breaking down televisions, the channels of forgotten nostalgias, wretched futures caught in one drowning voice on the screen. I often ordered cheap coffee and drank my fill, and wasted time in one of the back booths, often jotting down in my notebook how the wind spoke to me. Her vein in her neck bulged as she spoke to me, and her sweaty black hair seemed to shiver, vibrate with anxiety towards nothing. all in reaction to me, as if I were unwanted. During my time waiting for nothing, I would sometimes hear a metallic slamming that I assumed was a machine she used to cook. It often scared me and would come usually when the wind, the rain stopped, and the lights in the street would shut down, as if the false light died and resounded as a murder victim with a sudden scream of metal on metal breaking, colliding suddenly, but robotic, unreal, impossible. And the owner would depart to the back. When she heard it, her face would erupt with wrinkles, fear in her eyes, terror in her small, pathetic hands, and she would waddle like a fear-stricken toddler, afraid from judgment from mother. It would make it scream once or twice, and the lights would return, and the owner would come back, relaxed, like nothing had happened. My last time in the store was a Sunday, when all the folk were gathered in the only church, a brutalist cathedral with a large steel cross that had Christ Saves in all capital letters, seemingly etched with a hammer and chisel against the steel, as if the message had to be screamed against the winds to call all to worship at the altar. I had no drive, no will to go, to enter into that sacred communion with those black eyes, pale, plastic skin of those folk. My silence and cheap black coffee was enough for peace from wandering room to room in my home, waiting for letters, phone calls, men in suits at my door offering jobs, opportunity. The winds died down, and I enjoyed the brief silence, a moment of quiet within myself. The winds calming within, as without was only a primal black, the only place in the world this little shop. I sipped the warm coffee, and it was mixed poorly, so a clump of instant coffee clung to my tongue. I felt like gagging. I seemingly could get no rest from my constant stress. And then the lights went out, killed silently by an invisible reaper, and even a simple-minded shop owner couldn't mix instant coffee together for a paying customer. And then the clanging started again, this time always rapturous against the silence. My poor shop owner friend shook, eyes vibrating in their skull, limbs quivering with a deranged bolt of energy. And her expression was of confusion, despair. Hello, soy Alexinho. Thank you so much for the follow and welcome in. You're just reading a story of a coffee shop, apparently. It should have been enough. It should have been enough. Her voice crackled, and she departed like a dream after waking, the impressions of her leaving like the textures of the wind. I laughed to myself, finding the whole spectacle comedic. Then I heard the wet squelching and a sharp scream that was quickly silenced by noise of industrial accidents all meeting on a single body, and a crunching of bone emitted from the room. A thunder from the violence shook the walls, and I sipped from my coffee, transfixed in the door she went through, shaking with whatever was happening within, whatever force was impressing upon spraying flesh. I had imagined a body so mangled it was unrecognizable, and I knew I had to leave, go out into the night. The coffee certainly stained my tongue and burnt it. Nightingale, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. Outside my vision, I could barely track where I was in relation to the shop, and my feverish mind brought me to an alleyway. And as I went by, touched through it, my hands slick with grime by tracing the walls, I fell into a trash heap, and I felt a warm wetness soak my hands. Like a warm fruit, it embraced around my hands, and a slow, weak suction, like the maw of a sluggish animal licking. It was sensual, but still it brought cold fear up my spine. I cried out into the alleyway, my flesh crawling, and then it released me. I imagined due to its weakness, and it darted through various alleyways, turning down this or that path, as I heard a sobbing like a neglected pet, but emitted through an infected orifice, a clumping of flesh muting the sob, and it seemed to wring my mind with despair, hollow as a place of worship left empty, and any gesture done completely pointless against the weight of emptiness, of hunger infinite. When the lights came back on, I found myself in a lonely field on the edge of town. A silence, the moon and the rising sun, and a yellow decaying color staining the sky as it bloomed across the horizons. I wonder what happened to the disgusting shop owner, or what that thing was in that alleyway, but I took it as another sign of this place being more watched, wretched, rather, every day. Returning home, I waited eagerly for the stares of black eyes, for their plastic skin to tighten when they regarded me, since they knew that I knew their impossible mystery, but veiled by chanting winds and sudden metallic raptures and sucking orifices waiting in long, endless alleyways. And that ends our third story for this evening. Hello, Insano Golosso. I'm not very good with reading names, by the way, but thank you so much for the follow. Alex, thank you so much for Alex Zoya. Hello, hello. Welcome in, welcome in. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This latest story, I think was a bit confusing. It had a lot of descriptives though. As somebody pointed out, I believe it was Meta, pointed out in chat, it was a very visceral story. When would you do another Where Winds Meet stream? Within this week series, most likely within this week. So that particular story was a bit, how to say, visceral, but it essentially was about an occurrence in a local coffee shop and a sound that apparently they heard. Thank you, Glitzy. Welcome in, and thank you so much for the follow. Thank you for the follow as well. Expand this. Welcome in. Alright, so we are at Taser 1 and Employed Lurker. And Arison Boy and Jules, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for all the follows. So Destiny 2. I am afraid, Aries, that I have not played Destiny 2 in a while, actually. It's been a while since I played that. Anyways, this particular story was a little bit confusing for me, to be honest. What I can say, though, is that it was very visceral, as I said. They knew how to evoke a scene, describe a scene in such a way that evoked an image in your head, or even a sound in your head, made you imagine what it was that you were hearing, or what you were supposed to be looking at. Now, since it's already, almost 11 p.m., so we are gonna end our stream with a fairy tale, something to help everyone relax instead of giving them, how to say, nightmares, I suppose. I'm not sure where the sound is coming from, by the way. I'm hearing sounds, but Stein, thank you so much for the follow. No, we're not going to be doing any kind of lewd story. This is going to be a fairy tale, a Grimm Brothers fairy tale. I hate to disappoint you, series, but it's not going to be that. So, our story, our last story for this evening, let me just make sure that I need to zoom it in a little bit because my eyesight is going. So this particular story is called, to be honest, as somebody who majored in English literature, I miss the time when stories had beautiful titles, or authors were able to put titles in their stories that weren't like an entire sentence, essentially. Where with just a few, I don't know, like 3 words, they were able to encompass the entire story. Nowadays, stories are often like an entire sentence. So I miss the time when the title was just 3, at most 3. 3 words. A Queen Rooster, thank you so much for the follow and welcome in. I am indeed getting on in years, Zerzot. I am a vampire, an ancient vampire after all. But I will still be here, even when you have already passed on. Anyways, the title of our last story is The Golden Bird. Hello, Boca. Good evening. Welcome in. A certain king had a beautiful garden, and in the garden stood a tree which bore golden apples. These apples were always counted, and about the time when they began to grow ripe, it was found that every night one of them was gone. Thank you, Volpa, for the follow. Welcome in. And Frankie Star VT, welcome in as well. Welcome in, Phil VTuber. The king became very angry at this and ordered the gardener to keep watch all night under the tree. The gardener set his eldest son to watch, but about 12 o'clock he fell asleep, and in the morning another of the apples was missing. Then the second son was ordered to watch, and at midnight he too fell asleep, and in the morning another apple was gone. And the third son offered to keep watch, but the gardener at first would not let him, for fear some harm should come to him. However, at last he consented, and the young man laid himself under the tree to watch. As the clock struck 12, he heard a rustling noise in the air, and a bird came flying that was of pure gold. And as it was snapping at one of the apples with its beak, the gardener's son jumped up and shot an arrow at it. But the arrow did the bird no harm, only it dropped a golden feather from its tail and then flew away. The golden feather was brought to the king in the morning, and all the council was called together. Everyone agreed that it was worth more than all the wealth of the kingdom. But the king said, "One feather is of no use to me. I must have the whole bird." Hello, Senator T. Thank you so much for the follow. Manu, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. Then the gardener's eldest son set out and thought to find the golden bird very easily. And when he had gone but a little way, he came to a wood. And by the side of the wood he saw a fox sitting. So he took his bow and made ready to shoot at it. And the fox said, "Do not shoot me, for I will give you good counsel. I know what your business is, and that you want to find the golden bird. You will reach a village in the evening, and when you get there, you will see two inns opposite to each other, one of which is very pleasant and beautiful to look at. Go not in there, but rest for the night in the other, though it may appear to you to be very poor and mean." But the son thought to himself, "What can such a beast as this know about the matter?" So he shot his arrow at the fox, but he missed it, and it set up its tail above its back and ran into the wood. Then he went his way, and in the evening came to the village where the two inns were. And in one of these were people singing and dancing and feasting, but the other looked very dirty and poor. "I should be very silly," said he, "if I went to the shabby house and left this charming place." So he went into the smart house and ate and drank at his ease, and forgot the bird and his country too. Time passed on, and as the eldest son did not come back, and no tidings were heard of him, the second son set out, and the same thing happened to him. He met the fox, who gave him the good advice. But when he came to the two inns, his eldest brother was standing at the window where the merry-making was, and called to him to come in. And he could not withstand the temptation, but went in and forgot the golden bird and his country in the same manner. Time passed on again, and the youngest son too wished to set out into the wide world to seek for the golden bird. But his father would not listen to it for a long while, for he was very fond of his son, and was afraid that some ill luck might happen to him also, and prevent his coming back. However, at last it was agreed he should go, for he would not rest at home. And as he came to the wood, he met the fox and heard the same good counsel. But he was thankful to the fox and did not attempt his life as his brothers had done. So the fox said, "Sit upon my tail, and you will travel faster." So he sat down, and the fox began to run, and away they went over stock and stone, so quick that their hair whistled in the wind. Sky World, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. When they came to the village, the son followed the fox's counsel, and without looking about him, went to the shabby inn and rested there all night at his ease. In the morning came the fox again and met him as he was beginning his journey, and said, "Go straight forward till you come to a castle, before which lie a whole troop of soldiers fast asleep and snoring. Take no notice of them, but go into the castle and pass on and on, till you come to a room where the golden bird sits in a wooden cage. Close by it stands a beautiful golden cage, but do not try to take the bird out of the shabby cage and put it into the handsome one, otherwise you will repent it." Then the fox stretched out his tail again, and the young man sat himself down, and away they went over stock and stone, till their hair whistled in the wind. Before the castle gate all was as the fox had said, so the son went in and found the chamber where the golden bird hung in a wooden cage, and below stood the golden cage, and the 3 golden apples that had been lost were lying close by it. Then he thought to himself, "It will be a very droll thing to bring away such a fine bird in this shabby cage." So he opened the door and took hold of it and put it into the golden cage. But the bird set up such a loud scream that all the soldiers awoke. They took him prisoner and carried him before the king. The next morning the court sat to judge him, and when all was heard, it sentenced him to die, unless he should bring the king the golden horse, which could run as swiftly as the wind. And if he did this, he was to have the golden bird given for his own. So he set out once more on his journey, sighing and in great despair, when on a sudden his friend the fox met him and said, "You see now what has happened on account of your not listening to my counsel. I will still, however, tell you how to find the golden horse, if you will do as I bid you. You must go straight on till you come to the castle where the horse stands in his stall. By his side will lie the groom, fast asleep and snoring. Take away the horse quietly, but be sure to put the old leathern saddle upon him, and not the golden one that is close by it." Then the son sat down on the fox's tail, and away they went over stock and stone, till their hair whistled in the wind. All went right, and the groom lay snoring with his hand upon the golden saddle. But when the son looked at the horse, he thought it a great pity to put the leathern saddle upon it. "I will give him the good one," said he. "I am sure he deserves it." As he took up the golden saddle, the groom awoke and cried out so loud that all the guards ran in and took him prisoner. And in the morning he was again brought before the court to be judged, and was sentenced to die. But it was agreed that if they could bring hither the beautiful princess, he should live, and have the bird and the horse given him for his own. Then he went his way very sorrowful. But the old fox came and said, "Why did not you listen to me? If you had, you would have carried away both the bird and the horse. Yet will I once more give you counsel. Go straight on, and in the evening you will arrive at a castle. At 12 o'clock at night, the princess goes to the bathing house. Go up to her and give her a kiss, and she will let you lead her away. But take care you do not suffer her to go and take leave of her father and mother." "All right, pony. Take care going home." Then the fox stretched out his tail, and so away they went over stock and stone till their hair whistled again. As they came to the castle, all was as the fox had said. And at 12 o'clock, the young man met the princess going to the bath, and gave her the kiss, and she agreed to run away with him, but with many tears that he would let her take leave of her father. At first he refused, but she wept still more and more, and fell at his feet, till at last he consented. But the moment she came to her father's house, the guards awoke, and he was taken prisoner again. Then he was brought before the king, and the king said, "You shall never have my daughter, unless in 8 days you dig away the hill that stops the view from my window." Now this hill was so big that the whole world could not take it away. And when he had worked for 7 days and had done very little, the fox came and said, "Lie down and go to sleep. I will work for you." And in the morning he awoke, and the hill was gone. So he went merrily to the king, and told him that now that it was removed, he must give him the princess. Then the king was obliged to keep his word, and away went the young man and the princess. And the fox came and said, We will have all three, the princess, the horse, and the bird." "Ah," said the young man, "that would be a great thing. But how can you contrive it?" "If you will only listen," said the fox, "it can be done. When you come to the king, and he asks for the beautiful princess, you must say, 'Here she is,' and he will be very joyful, and you will mount the golden horse that they are to give you, and put out your hand to take leave of them, but shake hands with the princess last, then lift her quickly onto the horse behind you, clap your spurs to his side, and gallop away as fast as you can." All went right. Then the fox said, "When you come to the castle where the bird is, I will stay with the princess at the door, and you will ride in and speak to the king. And when he sees that it is the right horse, he will bring out the bird. But you must sit still and say that you want to look at it to see whether it is the true golden bird. And when you get it into your hand, ride away." This too happened as the fox said. They carried off the bird, the princess mounted again, and they rode on to a great wood. Then the fox came and said, "Pray kill me, and cut off my head and my feet." But the young man refused to do it. So the fox said, "I will at any rate give you good counsel. Beware of two things: ransom no one from the gallows, and sit down by the side of no river." Then away he went. "Well," thought the young man, "it is no hard matter to keep that advice." He rode on with the princess, till at last he came to the village where he had left his two brothers. And there he heard a great noise and uproar, and when he asked what was the matter, the people said, "Two men are going to be hanged." And as he came nearer, he saw that the two men were his brothers, who had turned robbers. So he said, "Cannot they in any way be saved?" But the people said, "No, unless he would bestow all his money upon the rascals and buy their liberty." Then he did not stay to think about the matter, but paid what was asked, and his brothers were given up and went on with him towards their home. And as they came to the wood where the fox first met them, it was so cool and pleasant that the two brothers said, "Let us sit down by the side of the river and rest a while to eat and drink." So he said yes, and forgot the fox's counsel, and sat down on the side of the river. And while he suspected nothing, they came behind and threw him down the bank, and took the princess, the horse, and the bird, and went home to the king their master, and said, "All this have we won by our labor." And there was great rejoicing made, but the horse would not eat, the bird would not sing, and the princess wept. The youngest son fell to the bottom of the river's bed. Luckily, it was nearly dry, but his bones were almost broken, and the bank was so steep that he could find no way to get out. Then the old fox came once more and scolded him for not following his advice. Otherwise no evil would have befallen him. "Yet," said he, "I cannot leave you here, so lay hold of my tail and hold fast." Then he pulled him out of the river and said to him as he got up upon the bank, "Your brothers have set watch to kill you, if they find you in the kingdom." So he dressed himself as a poor man and came secretly to the king's court, and was scarcely within the doors when the horse began to eat and the birds to sing, and the princess left off weeping. Then he went to the king and told him all his brother's roguery, and they were seized and punished, and he had the princess given to him again. And after the king's death, he was heir to his kingdom. A long while after, he went to walk one day in the wood, and the old fox met him and besought him with tears in his eyes to kill him and cut off his head and feet. And at last he did so. And in the moment the fox was changed into a man, and turned out to be the brother of the princess, who had been lost many, many years. And that is our fairy tale for this evening. Thank you, by the way, Emberry Ember, for the follow, and Next for the 29 bytes. And thank you as well. Not quite sure how to read your name since it is in characters. Thank you so much for the follow. We have 3 minutes until 11 p.m. I'm sorry. I think I'm a little bit. But this will be Aiden. I don't know how to pronounce, but Aiden Na. Thank you so much for the follow. Alright, so that is our last story for tonight. Thank you so much for listening to the stories. I hope you enjoyed them, even if some of them were a little bit scary and may give you a little bit of a nightmare. But I do hope that the last story made up for all of that, and that you're able to still have a good night's rest, if indeed you are heading off to bed. Now, since we were rated by I forgot her name. Let me just make sure. Yeah, where is it? I'm trying to find where it is. Oribu, by the way. Wait. for the big follow, we are going to pass on the love as well. Kuma Mon 5535. Thank you so much for the follow. I'm sorry, Sir Zot. My memory failed me. If there is anyone you guys would like to raid, if it is an ASMR channel, I would very much appreciate if you could type in their name so that we can find out who they are and we can send the love their way. If not, then I shall go and find somebody that we can raid. Yes? Let me do that. Let's see. I'm trying to find. Okay, let me just close out of this one. Okay, so there is. I have a certain sister, but no. Very well. Let me just see. There is. Oh. 90 ASMR. Oh, I have to mute myself a little bit. Let me see. Okay, so they are doing another ASMR stream as well, and they are feeling sleepy, so we will send the love their way. Their name is 90 ASMR. So let's wait, I need to do that on my end. I keep forgetting that I need to be able to wait, where do I do that? I think I can put here. No, I cannot. Okay, let me see if I can put it here. Can I do the raid here? I believe we can. Yes? There you go. Alright. Thank you once again, everyone, for staying with me until the end of the stream. A big thank you once again as well to Aribu for the raid. And to all who dropped follows, I really appreciate. I am very grateful for the follows that you have dropped. You are very much welcome to the channel. And to those who resubbed as well, thank you. And to those who, of course, got their bites, your Oneesama, your vampire Oneesama is very thankful for all the blood that she will be enjoying at your expense. So I will see you guys in my next stream, and as always, keep safe. This has been your vampire Oneesama Sister Midnight, signing off. Let us go raid, but before that, I have to make sure that we actually press the raid button. Is it there? I'm not sure. Okay, there we go. So we are raiding in 9 seconds. So I will see you guys next time. There is no option to rate. Oh, there it is. Good night, everyone.